Hello basketball fans, and welcome to another edition of Mustang Basketball with Brad Bigler. I'm Kelly Loft here at Studio One. Thanks for joining us this week. And again, on this week's show, we'll talk Mustang basketball with the head coach of the SMSU men's basketball team, Brad Bigler, as the Mustangs coming off two great home wins last weekend over Concordia, St. Paul, and St. Cloud State. We'll take a look at those highlights. We'll talk about the ball games, and then we'll look ahead to this weekend's big road trip to Bemidji State and Minnesota Duluth. And joining us as always here in studio is the head coach of the Mustang men's basketball program, Brad Bigler. And coach, the Mustangs, a couple of much needed victories. I wouldn't say they were much must wins, but they were close to being that as you could. And you had a great comeback to beat Concordia St. Paul. Mustangs win in double overtime, 89-86, and I should say we won in overtime. It snapped a 6-game losing streak in overtime games for the Mustangs. Mustangs hadn't won an overtime game in almost 4 years, and finally got that victory on Friday night, and you seem to carry that momentum over to Saturday and really took it to St. Cloud State, winning 71-58. And as I mentioned, we will see some of the highlights here shortly of that exciting ball games. But Coach, overall, very pleased, I'm sure, that the guys battled through it, didn't quit against Concordia, got the win, and then beat St. Cloud State and kind of got revenge for games that we lost in December against these two teams that went down to the wire. And
against Concordia, it was nice to see us come back from that deficit late in the game with 2 minutes left, down 7, with Jordan Miller being able to knock down some shots, and for us to get some defensive stops were key in that comeback. And I do think that coming from Saturday or Friday to Saturday, hopefully we can keep it going.
And we talked about, Coach, how we've always, you got to have players make plays at the end of ball games to get victories. And a great example of that on Friday night with Jordan Miller hitting 3 3-pointers in the final minute, and then also the one in double overtime. And when guys do that, it makes you a better coach, I'm sure. And of course, on the flip side, Concordia player needs to make 1 of 2 to possibly win the game, and he doesn't. And you know what? Maybe it was about time we caught a break like that, and give Jordan credit for making some plays and his teammates to get him open and to making some shots.
And you're right, we do, especially at the end of ball games. You put the ball in the best, in your best player's hands, and that's where they need to be able to step up and make a play, whether it's score the basketball or create an easy opportunity for a teammate. And fortunately for us, Jordan Miller knocked down some threes.
I will say, it was a great comeback, down 7 with a minute to go to tie it in regulation, but it wasn't a game where the Mustangs were playing that very poor at all. I mean, Concordia is a team that had a very good road trip this last 2 weekends. They go 3-1. They beat Upper Iowa. They beat Winona. Beat Minnesota State after the Mustang game, so the team has played very well. And you guys probably your best, 50 minutes on Friday and 40 minutes on Saturday, maybe your best 2 games you've played all year.
And got to give them a lot of credit. They're a tough matchup. The twins, the Olafeso brothers, provide them with a lot of toughness, and they're difficult for us to keep them out of the paint. And Peter, when he got it going, we would go under on a ball screen, he'd knock down a 3. We would trap on the ball screen, he would break us down and get in the paint and make plays. So, very talented player.
Well, the Mustangs in that ball game against Concordia St. Paul, two teams have had some battles here in the last couple of years. Concordia beat Southwest in triple overtime last season in St. Paul, so it was good to bounce back and get the double overtime victory. Some stats from the ball game: Jordan Miller, career high 27 points. He had 6 3-pointers in the game. Big double-double for Scott Rail, 12 points, 16 rebounds, had a big bucket in double overtime, and really another balanced scoring attack. Trent Carlson was big off the bench, hit 4 3-pointers, had 13 points, and 10 points for Lavion West. But a very important and really all-weekend play by your senior Taylor Hughesby. He had double-figure scoring in both games, and he had 12 points on Friday, and really was a difference maker in both these games.
And I thought his patience was a lot better when he got that catch on the block. Just his overall patience to see the floor, take his time, and then create angles. That was a big thing we were talking about with him, is to try to go back to the old shot fakes and the jabs and the things that made Taylor Hughesby a tough player to defend, and I thought he did that this weekend.
And in more important numbers, we'll talk about it, and it seems like every week, but to go through this, look at the numbers of Bernard Birch. 10 assists, 1 turnover in a combined 74 minutes of basketball. It's a true freshman. Some pretty impressive numbers, and not only on that end, but on the defensive end as well. Against Taylor Witt, leading scorer in the conference for St. Cloud, just 1 field goal in the game.
And Bernard has shown from time to time that he can step up and he can shut down those point guards, whether it's Taylor Witt. He's had good games versus Fisher. He's had good games versus other guys in the past. And he's probably one of our most valuable players when it comes to the defensive end. And a guy as a true freshman to play those minutes is very impressed. It's very, that's big time. For a freshman to step up and do that, that's special.
And of course, in a few weeks, the all-conference teams will come out, and there are Freshman of the Year awards, and probably because of the stat-wise, it's kind of a stat award. He probably, might get some votes, may not get Freshman of the Year, but as you mentioned, he may be the most valuable freshman for any, for a team than him. And there are some very good freshmen in the conference. So you're making some big impacts, but for Vennard, you'd probably say, hey, we wouldn't trade him for anybody.
And especially, when you look at those minutes played. Right now we don't have as much depth at the point guard position, and that's where we've gotten in trouble on the road, is when he gets in foul trouble and he needs to sit on the road. That's where other guys have to play some more minutes in positions where I guess they can handle it, but a position where we would rather have Vennard out there.
Well, again, the Mustangs win on Friday night in double overtime, 89-86. We come to Saturday's game against St. Cloud State, a team that went to the Final Four last season, all the way to Springfield, Massachusetts, and having a very good season in the top half of the conference. But on Saturday, the Mustangs really got after it defensively, limited the Huskies to 35% shooting, and as you mentioned, their top scorer, Taylor Witt, who led the conference in scoring at 20 points a game, had just 5. Their third leading scorer, Brett Putz, was held scoreless. Those two players, 1 of 15 shooting, and that goes to Lavion West playing good defense and Vennard Birch, and really just an entire team effort. And yeah, they had a player that averages 3 points a game, score of double 17 points, but it's going to happen when you lock down their top 2 or 3 scorers.
And going in the game, in order to stop Taylor Witt, it is a team effort. Now Vennard needs to be able to put the ball pressure on him. He needs to be physical with on the basketball, but when Taylor does put the ball on the floor, we need to flow to the basketball, fill and sink, and I thought we did a great job of that on Saturday night.
Well, a couple of things also to mention throughout the weekend. You did have a couple of guys that had played earlier this season get some minutes early in games. Derry Jones, William Giddings, both freshmen. Derry, a true freshman. William, a redshirt freshman. But the reasoning behind getting those guys in action in both these contests.
Well, with Will, it came back to on Friday night. We thought that he was a better matchup versus Concordia St. Paul and how they play. Just his athleticism was something that we wanted to throw out on the floor. And he played well. He earned those minutes against St. Cloud, and he came back the second night and, did the things that he did well.
And it's kind of funny. Look back at the ball game against Concordia, and he was not shy. We got a big steal in end regulation, and he took the three-pointer. Maybe it wasn't the shot that you wanted, but it shows at least that you've got some players that will try to make a play, and that's what William tried to do.
And early in the year, if you remember at Northwest Missouri,
first game of the year.
Yeah, he knocked down a big three, very similar to that, where it's one of those threes where you're like, not sure, knocked it down. But you know what? I think the biggest thing is he didn't hesitate. He caught that basketball in rhythm. And he was ready to be the hero if he were if it were to go down. Yeah,
it did not go down, but the Mustangs were able to still hit a three-pointer. Jordan Miller made some incredible threes down the stretch in that game against Concordia. And Mustangs do win in double overtime. We'll take a look at the highlights shortly, but Coach, all week people saying, what do we have to do to get in the top 8 or do this or that? I think you had the best thing to say, and I'm sure the guys too. We really can't worry about it. If we win basketball games, we'll get in the conference tournament, which is, I tell you what, is a chore. I mean, we saw a couple years ago, Northern State was the 8th seed. It was the 8th seed in the region tournament. They did lose to Southwest in that first round of the regional tournament, but it's a tough conference to get in the top 8. But besides all that, you still just got to win the games, and it will take care of itself. And you look at this last weekend, we went from 11 to 8 just by winning those 2 games.
And going into this weekend, we have to prove that we can win on the road. That's something we haven't done this year, and we don't want to be the team remembered. We don't want to be remembered for this, for not being able to win on the road. And it's something that this team is capable of doing. Now we have to come out and get it done.
And you talk about that. Mustangs are 0-10 in conference play in road games. You did win the first game of the year at Northwest Missouri State. But is it something that you address in practice, or the guys know about, or is it kind of the elephant in the room we don't want to talk about? But I guess the facts are there.
Yeah, I don't think it's something that we dwell on. I mean, I don't think it's something that we talk about every day or anything like that. But it's something that they're aware of it, and it's something that we have to correct here. And what a great opportunity to play for a conference tournament berth this weekend versus Bemidji and Duluth.
And the Mustangs will play at Bemidji on Friday and at Minnesota Duluth on Saturday at 6 o'clock. It's a 6 o'clock start in Duluth. And if things work out properly, you could clinch a spot in the conference tournament. But obviously we need to take care of business on Friday, and that starts with Bemidji State. But we'll look back at last week. Again, the Mustangs with a couple of great home wins, beating Concordia St. Paul in double overtime 89-86 and beat St. Cloud State 71-58. Let's take a look at the highlights first from the Concordia game on Friday night at the RA facility. Mustangs again get the win in double overtime. And we start off with first half highlights, Coach. And the Mustangs, again, we played pretty well, 43% shooting. Here's a jumper by Nick Smith, but Concordia shoots 61%, and you trail by 5 at half.
And that goes giving them a lot of credit. I mean, they got to the rim a lot in that first half, and we had to make some adjustments in the second half. Fortunately, they missed some shots late in the ball game, and we did make the plays that we needed to. There's
these post plays. You see Nick Smith with a jumper, and then Taylor Hughesby. A tough shot for Scott Rail. Didn't shoot particularly well, but a big offensive rebound. 11 boards in the game for the Mustangs, which led to 10 second chance points. And here's those angles you're talking about, Taylor Hughesby. We've seen a couple of baskets by him, and just makes the Mustangs that tougher to guard with another post player scoring.
And another thing that we told Taylor to do, on that left block, he's a lot more effective. And just for him to sit on that left block and more so just be stationary there rather than moving block to block in the half-court offense.
La Van West shooting around 49% from the field, hit a jumper, and there's Trent Carlson, big three, he had 4. And, this is your offense as a whole when, Trent makes some threes and you've got Taylor Hughesby scoring. I mean, that's kind of what you envisioned when practice started in October.
And we've had better spacing. I thought Concordia and St. Cloud at times later in the shot clock broke down where we were able to take some high percentage shots. But all in all, pretty good offensive effort this weekend.
Jordan Miller, 7 assists on Friday night. Beautiful pass to William Giddings. And Giddings, his only basket of the night. Here's a long tray made by the Mustangs as well. Continuing on in the first half, gets Scott Rail 12 points, 16 boards, had a shot blocked. Gets his old board and puts it back up and in and is fouled. Now here late in the half, Mustangs have it and getting that post feed into Rail.
And that's where, versus Concordia St. Paul, that was a matchup that Scott Rail was going to be successful. It was just a matter of on the other end, was he going to be able to defend the three-point line? And Isaiah Thomas in the past has hurt us. Fortunately for us, he went 1 for 7 on Friday night.
In transition, Carlson the three-pointer, and now we continue on late in the first half. This is under a minute. Jordan Miller, a long-range three, and drills it. And the Mustangs, trail by 5 at halftime and start the second half. Pretty good run as we move to the second half. And Miller in transition, almost a 3, but foot on the line. 9 of 16 shooting for Miller. Another great pass. Nick Smith with the beneficiary of that assist from Bernard Birch, who had 7 assists, 0 turnovers in the game. It can't get much better than that if you're a point guard, and there he drives and scores for his only bucket of that game.
Nick Smith, I thought, came off as he started, he played pretty efficient minutes for us last weekend. Played with some more emotion, that's the thing. He's getting a little more confident, and it was good to see him finish with contact down low.
Great shot by Taylor Hughesby, patented hook shot going into the lane. And again, the Mustangs just battling back here. Big jump shot by Hughesby from 15 feet. Taylor 6 of 9 in the game. And again, Mustangs are having to battle back. Concordia kept making some shots. Here's a long 3 and for Carlson. Again, 4 of 8 from three-point range. Scott Rail with his jump shot. As we wind down here in the second half, and you'll see Miller start to hit some threes here later on that tied this ball game up. But that extra pass, there's the goaltend, and Mustangs get it there, and a great feed again for Miller.
And late in the game, the biggest thing for us late in the game was to space the floor and try to get action to the rim. We had 2 shooters on the floor at all times, and if they were going to help off, it was their responsibility to knock down the shot.
You saw that drive by Miller a couple of highlights ago. It makes him such a difficult guard, and here he's driving again, getting to the line. A shot was blocked, but Rail with the offensive board, and Mustangs call a timeout. Now under a minute to go, and now it's the Jordan Miller show, Coach.
Jordan comes off a down screen from Scott, and that's a tough shot. A guy just stepping up, making a play. You'll see here, Jordan with another handoff, knocks it down. And then this last one was coming out of a timeout, a little bit different of a set, more of a stagger coming off, and they go underneath on the stagger, and that's a deep three.
Amazing. That was a tough shot. That tied the game. Concordia came down and had a chance to win it. And a breakdown here, you'll see Brett Bars on the right block. He'll get free, great pass, and the Mustangs have to foul him, and fortunately he missed both free throws.
And he is a guy who shoots 40-some% from the foul line, but you would think in that situation he'd be able to knock down one, but fortunately for us it wasn't the case.
And we go to Jordan Miller's shot almost went in there at the buzzer. I'm not sure if it would have counted, but it hit the rim. That tells you you're feeling it when you throw a three-quarters length shot. But now we go into overtime. Patience by Scott Rail finding Nick Smith. Couldn't get the first one to go, but Rail's tip-in is there, and the Mustangs continue now, and I believe this is still the first overtime.
Actually, this is the second
this
overtime.
Is double,
we only
okay.
scored 2 points in the
That's
first
right.
overtime. There was some good defense by both teams, and both teams had several opportunities but couldn't take advantage, and now we're in the second overtime.
Lavian West with the bucket. Yeah, the Mustangs had a chance in first overtime but couldn't get a shot off, and now here's a missed chance by Concordia, and here's the final play, Coach Jordan Miller, to win the ball game.
And when you look at the play, it was more so just to get spacing for Jordan to be able to catch down the run. Give Scott Rail a lot of credit for getting this pass off. Brent Bars is not an easy guy to throw around, especially in that situation. And there you go, Jordan Miller with the big three.
And that was an amazing play for the Mustangs as Miller, again, the key, I think, was getting the pass towards the hoop. Didn't make him go in the backcourt or anything, and he hits the three-pointer, and the Mustangs win 89-86. SMSU shoots 55% from the field in the second half and finishes shooting 48% in the game. Concordia shot 51%. Just an overall well-played game offensively for both squads, and Concordia proved they're a pretty good team. They go on the road the next night and beat Minnesota State Mankato. So you win the game on Friday, and as it is in the conference, you've got to battle back. You get less than 24 hours to prepare for St. Cloud, and the Huskies come in and really, like we talked about, defensively led to the offense and never trailed in the game. And St. Cloud did make a threat early in the second half, got to 4, but came back double-digit lead and really finally a comfortable win here. It's been a while in the last few weeks, and it was fun to beat St. Cloud.
And give both Scott Rail and Taylor Hughesby credit. I thought they came ready to go. They were both just so physical on Saturday night, and they were determined to win that ball game. And just with their output offensively, both of them had good nights, and they were rebounding, and they were also communicating on the defensive end and doing the things they needed to do too. And so it started with them on Saturday night, and it was a good team win.
Yeah, again, the Mustangs just 8 turnovers on the night, and talking about possessions and how important they are, Coach, and to hang on to the basketball, and not to give up a turnover which could lead to free points the other way, or a fast break, for instance, if it's stolen, at the top of the key or whatnot. But you just hung on to the basketball, made some shots, and it's a recipe for success.
And yeah, just that overall patience on the offensive end and on the defensive end. We were good. That was one of our more complete games, I would say, on the year. And it started with Bernard Birch defensively on Taylor Witt, with Lavian West defensively on putts, and as a team effort, just flying to the basketball. And
Mustangs had 2 players in double-figure scoring. Taylor Hughesby was 16 off the bench, and Scott Rail, another double-double, 23 points, 12 rebounds in the contest, 10 of 16 shooting. And despite Jordan Miller coming off that 27-point night on Friday, he had just 2 points. Then the next night, his lowest output of the season, but he had 8 assists, and that tells you that he's valuable. If he's not scoring, he can still distribute the basketball.
And against St. Cloud, too, they're going to run some different defenses where there's a box of 1 or triangle of 2, and in those sets, sometimes he needs to become more of a screener to be able to get other guys open. I thought he did that well on Saturday night, and not as well. Not only that, but he did have 8 assists, making his teammates better.
And before we talk about the highlights from the Saturday game against St. Cloud State, Scott Rail, 23 points, and getting closer. We don't want to jinx it, knock on wood, but getting close to 1,000 points, 986 now in his career, and he'd be only the 16th player in school history to reach 1,000 points, and pretty special for a guy that wasn't really highly touted, probably out of Princeton High School, redshirted his first year, and has really just grown into being one of the top big men in the NSIC. And it's special for him to hopefully get that on Friday night, or at least sometime this weekend.
And he's just improved every year. Give Scott a lot of credit. He has a lot of passion for the game, and He's developed not only the ability to score with his back to the basket, but to be able to step out and knock down those perimeter shots like he has this year.
Yeah, up there in the scoring 1,000 points, hopefully, and also in the top 5, 6 all-time in rebounds as well. Pretty special player. Not many players in school history have had those numbers, both rebounding and scoring. So hopefully Scott can do that this weekend. Again, needs 14 points to reach 1,000 points. Again, the Mustangs beat St. Cloud State 71-58 on Saturday at the RA facility. We'll take a look at the highlights from the ball game from the RA facility. Mustangs 10-point lead at halftime, jumped on the Huskies right away, never trailed, and it helps when you limit the defense to 32% shooting. And there's Matt Zager. Very quiet night on Friday, but good to see Zager get 7 points, make a couple of baskets early here in this contest.
And it was important that he was aggressive, because whoever Witt was defending, we wanted to make him defend. We wanted to make him defend and work on the offensive end just to wear him down throughout the night.
We've talked about Bernard Birch. He can shoot the basketball. He drilled a 3. He had 5 points and 3 assists. Lavion West continuing to shoot at a pretty high pace. Was 3 of 7 here, but there's that aggressiveness again by Zager. Didn't get the shot to go down, but Hughesby, the big bore, that's an aggressiveness. Gets it to Scott Rail, who drives to the basket and scores 2 of his game-high 23.
Lavion West getting out in the passing lane, making a play, and those are types of plays that will spark a team.
Mustangs, again, just 8 turnovers in the game. Taylor Hughesby with the bucket. Forced 11 turnovers, and points off turnovers, a 10-3 advantage for the Mustangs. Nick Smith from 15, no good, but there's the old board. 6 offensive boards for Scott Rail, leading to 38 points in the paint for SMSU.
And Lavion, the thing about Lavion right now, too, is as we watch him knock down that shot, he's shooting at a high percentage. He's almost shooting 50% from the field right now, and I think he's improved a lot on his shot selection.
There's an easy shot selection there for Nick Smith in the paint. Gets the and 1. Trent Carlson, nice feed into Scott Rail, and that drops in for 2. Mustangs 16 assists in the ballgame of their 28 shots, a very high percentage. Again, patient on the offensive end. Taylor Hughesby, he's just wanting that basket, and we hope to see a lot of that this weekend against Bemidji State and Minnesota Duluth. And there he keeps the ball alive.
With a nice pass, he'll find Scott Rail cutting to the basket.
Those are opposing coach, just frustrating. His team, just getting, kind of out-hustled, and just Mustangs wanting that basketball more. Again, having a 10-point, 37-27 halftime lead here under a minute. Mustangs closing out the half strong and building that 10-point lead. We now move to the second half. Mustangs shoot 46%, make just 1 3-pointer, but had the lead up to double digits for much of the half. There's the 1-3 of the half, made by Matt Zager. Both freshmen, Zager and Birch, the only 2 players to hit 3-pointers in this game.
And you'll see in this half right now, you'll see there's a lot of different types of shots, just because they're playing those different types of zone defenses. It was important to be patient, get action to the rim, and really make them defend. Right there, a great pass by Bernard Birch to Will Giddings. You'll see here just a little more action to the rim, where Jordan Miller comes off a ball or comes off a screen, knocks down the shot.
And Bernard finding the lane all the way to the basket, scoring 2. He had 5, 3 assists, 2 steals in 31 minutes. There's Jordan Miller again, didn't shoot a lot, just 1 of 4, but dropping off assists. Scott Rail, a long jumper. Scott, 10 of 16 shot attempts. He made 10 out of 16.
Again, you'll see here Scott stepping up in the short corner, knocking down that shot. He's been wanting to shoot more threes, but we've been telling him to stay with that go-to, that 17-footer, and you're shooting a high percentage. Just stay there, Scott.
Yeah, and look at that play by Taylor Hughesby, and that's what the Mustangs need here in the final 2 weeks of the regular season, and in as far as we can into the postseason. And again, Taylor 6 of 9. He also was 4 of 4 from the line. Mustangs 13 of 14 from the free throw line this game for 92%. Great to see that. High percentage.
Jordan Miller with a nice find to Scott Rail.
Beautiful pass, and that's the final score. Mustangs 71-58 all around. Great weekend for the Mustangs as they get the sweep in conference play. Mustangs now 11-12 overall, 8-11 in the conference, and 3 regular season games left. The Mustangs at Bemidji State on Friday, and then at Minnesota Duluth on Saturday, and then a week from Saturday, senior night at the arena as the Mustangs will take on Minnesota State Mankato, and hopefully a lot will be riding on those games, and they will this weekend, Coach. And as we talked about, can't look ahead at what other teams are doing. We just got to take care of business, and playing 2 teams that we had some battles with the back of the RA in mid-January, but Bemidji State, a scary team, very offensively skilled squad, and it's going to be a challenge. They've played some very tight ball games throughout the season.
And they're one of those teams where, like Concordia, they present some matchups and difficult matchups for us. And they'll be a team that will all have to be ready to go. I think it all starts with Bryce Tesdall. He's a guy he's a bigger player, but they play him at the point guard position. The way he can pass the basketball, I think he set a career record for assists at Bemidji, and he's a very talented player.
And the Mustangs then will head out from Bemidji and go to Duluth on Friday night and get ready to place the Bulldogs. UMD, a team that started off the conference season 5-1, went through a tough stretch, but has won 2 of the last 3 games. And a team that has got some outside shooting and got a good freshman post player as well. So going to be challenges again on Saturday as well. But as you said, you can only take care of yourself and your team, and if you play at the level you can, I'm sure you're very confident.
And that's versus Duluth, that was a matchup where Vennard did a great job on their best player. That's another example of him stepping up on the defensive end, and he'll have to do that on Saturday night as well when he goes up against Rasmussen.
Well, again, Bemidji State game starts at 8. The Minnesota Duluth game starts at 6 o'clock up in the North Country, and the Mustangs will return home again, as you mentioned, last Saturday in February, taking on Minnesota State Mankato at the RA facility as the Mustangs make their push to make the conference tournament. And we know it can happen then. Mustangs, of course, made the tournament last year and advanced all the way to the championship game before losing on a last-second free throw. So again, best of luck this weekend, Coach, up in Bemidji and Duluth. Thank you for watching this week's show here on Studio One and at smsumustangs.com. We appreciate all the help, and Jess Nelson here at Studio One for getting us on the air. Until next time, we'll check you out here at Mustang Basketball with Brad Bigler. I'm Kelly Loft. Go Mustangs.